All right, everyone. So I am Kendra Tillman. I am the Chief Community Builder at StrongerThanYouThink.co. And about 3 years ago, I finally got the courage to host my first event, the You Are Stronger Than You Think Women's Event. This January will actually be my third year hosting this event, and I'm so happy about that. I have learned a lot over these last 3 years, a lot about myself and a lot about what it is that women want. And I still have a lot to learn. At this event, we don't just inspire and encourage you, because plenty of conferences do that, right? You get inspired, you get encouraged, you're excited, but we also empower you by equipping you to take the next steps towards lasting changes that you want to make in your life. So I'm going to share my screen with you really quickly, because I want you to have an opportunity to see the great sponsors that we have supporting us for this event. So we have different sponsors each one of these days. So we have several sponsors that we'll be talking about over the course of these from now until January the 13th. The series started yesterday on the 3rd, and we'll go all the way through until the 13th. And so for tonight's sponsor, I want to talk about Toni Wellman. And Toni Wellman is a realtor. She's actually my realtor. And she helped us purchase the home that we're in now, and she's actually one of our sponsors. And if you want to learn more about Toni and how she can help you either buy a new home or sell one, you can visit her website at ToniSalesAZ.com. So Toni, thank you so much for being a sponsor, not just being a sponsor, but being a friend. Toni is very personable. She has many, many years of experience in buying and selling homes as a realtor, and her customer service is amazing. Like this past Christmas, she went around and gave all of her clients wrapping paper. And she gave us a housewarming gift when we moved in. It was just a great experience working with her, and I'm so happy to have her as one of our sponsors. So again, that's Toni Wellman of Toni Sales AZ. So she was our sponsor. Now, back to the reason why you're on this call, because we are going to be talking tonight to Vicki Diemert. And Vicki is a biblical counselor, and she's going to kind of give us a taste of what she's going to be sharing at the event on January the 21st. She's actually doing our breakout session for women in ministry. And because Vicki is a counselor, she has worked with so many different families and different situations, varying situations. And so the thing that she's going to talk about, and the thing that she's passionate about, is maximizing your influence with your friends and family. So before she actually dives into talking about that, the first thing I wanted to do was give her an opportunity to talk to you a little bit about who she is and how she got to the point of becoming a biblical counselor. So it's your turn, Vicki.
Hello, hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Sound great.
Yeah, thanks. So I have been a biblical counselor. I started schooling about 2010, I want to say, taking classes. We actually lived in China at the time, and I think my heart was always in counseling, even growing up, but started taking classes, and I ended up going for my master's in biblical counseling, and went through a journey myself where I needed a lot of help, and went through counselors that didn't help, and things that did help, and kind of evaluated why wasn't something helpful and why was it helpful, and been able to bring that to helping other people.
Absolutely. So you said for you actually went through counseling yourself, and then you felt that God was leading you to also become a counselor. And for the people that don't know, what kind of counseling do you specialize in?
So I specialize in biblical counseling.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different than secular counseling. A couple of the differences are, one is we believe everybody has an active heart before the Lord. We're all we're moral beings. We we want to get to the heart. So we don't want to just change behavior. We want to change the heart as well. And so we believe everybody has kind of a relationship with the Lord. So yeah, that's, I think, probably one of the main differences.
You say that's one of the main differences. Yeah. So let me ask you this: with you doing biblical counseling, so would you say that most of the people, all of the people that typically come to you are people that have already confessed to be Christians, or do you ever get clients who are not Christians?
Yeah, we get both. The majority of the people would confess to be a Christian, but we get people that just hear about us. One thing is we really want to be affordable for people to get help. And so we are just biblical counseling of Arizona. We're in the community, so anybody can come to us. So we get people that maybe they don't go to church at all, or yeah.
So if you had to share 2 or 3 strategies for how women, wives, mothers can have a positive influence in their family's life, what type of strategies would you give to us?
The first one is that the people that you're in relationship with, whether it's your children, your spouse, is that they would know that you are for them. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we just assume that. We assume that they just know that I'm for them, but it doesn't feel like it, especially to kids. I actually see a lot of younger people, kids, teenagers, and one of the biggest things that I hear a lot from the teenagers especially is that they don't feel like their parents listen, value, hear their opinion, their perspective. They just feel like their parents just want them to agree with what they're saying, and you lose influence when you do that. There's so many voices speaking into our kids' lives today. You have social media, you have there's so many advertising that is influential in their lives, and the person that understands the person wins the person. So if somebody's not really understood, they're not gonna go to you for help.
Oh, that's good.
So what you have to say.
I have to write that down. The person that understands the person wins the person. Mm-hmm. So actually that makes me want to back up just 1 second, because I actually meant to ask you this first about influence. Like, to you, what does that mean? What does influence mean to you?
That's a great question. We have influence in people's life if we can. Other people value what we have to say. If I want you to value what I have to say and take it to heart, and to hear what I'm saying, to be able to influence or guide you into a certain direction, that you would heed my advice, right? That you're gonna take what I have to say into consideration and maybe even act on it. I have influence on you.
Right.
If we want that for our kids or our families, how do we get that where they'll hear what we're saying and take it to heart, to really listen to it?
One of the reasons why this has been so important to me is, I have 2 teenage children, and we have 2 teenagers, and we have an 8-year-old. And, you think that the hardest time, and I guess it's seasonal, everything is, you think that the hardest time is when you're changing diapers, and, it feels like this endless supply of diapers, and your baby is crying and you don't know why they're crying, and you want them to stop crying, or, you can't do they need you for every single thing in their life. And you think that's the hardest time, the hardest season. But I find that parenting a teenager has other challenges, right? And one of them is the thing that you're talking about, is that because there's so many voices in their heads, there's so many people telling them what to do, how to think, how to feel, what's cool, what's not cool, and then here we are as parents, and we're adding another layer onto that, right? Because we're trying to let them go, but we're trying to hold them close, and it's like kind of like this dance. So what you're saying about the person who understands them is going to be the person who wins them. And just really knowing that God has given us an amazing opportunity to be influences in the decisions that they make. They won't do everything that we want, and they shouldn't, because they're not robots. We don't do everything that God wants.
Right.
But we should be able to influence them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think we're always intentional about that, but we are in their life. Like we just kind of we're not intentional, we're, and how are they making sense of their world and stuff that they're hearing and what's going on? And if you want them to talk to you about it, they have to be able to feel like they're going to be heard, and their opinion, even if it's different than yours, is going to be respected and heard and valued, versus just kind of coming up against a wall and I want you to see it the way I see it. So I'm going to not really enter into your perspective. I'm just going to disagree with it.
Right.
Or try to persuade you.
Right. So what would you say is another strategy for how we influence in our homes?
Asking questions.
Okay.
It's so simple. It's so simple, but we don't do it. We are good at it. We think we're good listeners. We think we understand, but we don't. We assume, and we don't just ask enough questions. And actually, if you learn how to ask questions well, you can influence somebody just through the questioning to help them see maybe gaps or disconnects in their thinking. And then when they come to a conclusion themselves, they're going to own it, versus if it's my conclusion or my decision for you, they're not going to own it. But asking questions, really genuine questions, when I'm talking with somebody, I always think, what else do I not know about this situation? What is one more question I can ask before and to the point where, can I tell that person their story, their perspective back to them in a way where they would say yes, like that's it. Like if somebody was asking them a question, I could actually answer it the way they would answer it, because I've asked so many questions and really sought to understand.
Well, and when you say that, immediately what I think about is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of them is seek first to understand, then be understood. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. It's like, before we jump in with advice, before we jump in and criticize, before we jump in and do anything, why don't we make sure, let me understand you first before I try to be understood myself. Yeah.
And being okay with sitting in the sitting in validation. Yeah. Just like maybe like there's something that maybe needs changing, or but just sitting in validation of how the person feels. Like I don't have to change how you feel. Like if you feel sad, or you feel broken, or you feel angry, like okay, let's be that. I don't have to change that. I don't have to try to.
Hold on one second. Let me mute this. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Go ahead. So you said being able to sit in not having all the answers. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah. Just sitting in what is, because we always live in the what should be or where we want it to be, but that we don't know how to be in the what is. Like right now, I'm angry, or I'm sad, or let's just be there. But we're,
Let me ask you this before you tell us another strategy. As a counselor, I'm just curious. I'm just being nosy. Do you feel that is it hard for you to separate what your understanding of people's behaviors, why people think or do the way they do, from like maybe you overanalyze conversation? Do you feel like you do that, or have you learned some ways where you can just sit and kind of like listen to what it is that people are saying without, being like, oh, well, they're really feeling this, but they're saying, I'm just curious. It just makes me think about that.
No, because, I guess I don't really do that, because I leave assumptions at the one thing I assume is that I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one thing I assume is that I don't know and I don't understand. And so it's actually really when you're free to like leave your perspective at the door and leave your
Yeah.
ideas and how you see it and what you think is going on, when you're free to just like leave that, then it just becomes this world or this map that you can kind of just explore this terrain, like through asking questions. And then pretty soon it's like, oh, you're just so intrigued at learning. And that person is really learning about themselves too, because it's stuff that they didn't really think about or they haven't explored themselves. And so it's kind of like you're going on this discovery together.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I don't have to assume that you're going to feel a certain way or think a certain way. I'm just like, hey, I kind of what is the word? Make it be like exploring, going into somebody's house, you know, and it kind of like, oh, like this is your kitchen. I like, like, this is interesting. You keep your silverware in your living room. Like I would say, oh, that's wrong. I would just be like, tell me about that. That's interesting. That's kind of what I'm doing. It's like when I see disconnects, I'm like, that's so you guys eat over here, but all of your silverware is over here. That's not more. I want to know more about that. That's different, or
I think that's so great, Vicki. I love that. That is such a great perspective.
and they would be like, "Oh, you mean everybody doesn't keep their silverware in the living room?" No, but I mean, I'm just curious why,
So I'm sorry for taking us kind of like on that little train of thought, but I just had to ask. So do you have any other strategies that you would say that you want to share in terms of influencing the people in your family or even your friends, not necessarily just people that live in your house, but the people around you?
Yeah, I would say really I'm remembering that understanding, this is where people really get hung up. Understanding they think equals agreement. So if I'm going to enter and try to understand, then I think that you think I'm agreeing with you when I don't. And we get so caught up in like, I don't want them to think I'm agreeing. That, do you see how that doesn't free us to really understand, because we're being held back by this agreement, do they agree or do they not agree? And what if they think I agree and I don't, that it's just, if I understand you, it doesn't mean I can understand and how you experience your perspective or your opinion without having to bring agreement into it.
Oh, I love that so much. Because you know what, I'm immediately thinking about social media, and I'm immediately thinking about how people were in such an uproar last year over the election, and I saw people's conversations and how they talked to each other and how they treated each other. People that, in real life, these are people that are actually friends with people. They know them, they've seen them eye to eye. But then on social media, if the person didn't agree with them, they were ending friendships and relationships. And one of the pastors that I know, not my pastor, but another pastor, he actually posted when the election was over. He was like, I'm so glad that I did not allow myself to get caught up in all of this and lose relationships over an election. And it was the very thing you're talking about. People were even getting upset at people because if you actually did understand where the other perspectives were coming from, that didn't mean you agreed with them. It just means, you know what, I was trying to understand why this person felt the way they did. And people were getting angry that people were understanding where other people were coming from.
Right. Because I'm free to put my, like, not, I want you to understand and agree with me so badly. It's like I'm free to put that and just be like, I really want to understand.
Right.
There's something I can learn.
Right.
And I think there's that humility to be like, I can learn. I want to come with this posture of learning, and that somebody that has a different opinion than me, I can learn from them and understand them.
And how much, and bringing it back to influence is, the pastor who was able to keep the relationships that he had, he will continue to be able to influence those people, even though he didn't necessarily agree with them, but he took the time to try to understand where somebody else whose opinion was different from his, where they were coming from, right?
Yep.
And so I think, so when you talk about influence, you're talking about a woman in ministry, whether you're talking about a woman who works a job, you know, she's employed, a woman who owns her own business, you know, she has a huge ability in her own home with her friendships to be able to influence people just by having a willingness to not necessarily agree with everything they're saying, but wanting to understand where they're coming from. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me think of, have you ever been on a phone call, like with customer service, like you're calling in because maybe you got overcharged on a bill or something, or you're calling in and the person on the other end they're reading a script, right? And like you'll call and you're not upset when you call, but pretty soon you're like, you're getting upset on the phone call because they're defending their company, but they just haven't been free to just be like, oh, that's really frustrating. You got overcharged.
Right.
Like, one thing that's frustrating and you were overcharged doesn't mean that I'm dissing the company. It's just that person's experience. And then, because maybe there's nothing they can do, but ultimately the person can leave a phone call feeling like, gosh, that was a good phone call. I didn't get what I wanted, but I feel like I got heard of. It's how do people leave a conversation?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is so good, Vicki. Like, it's really about the whole thing about, do you care? Like, I think a lot of times, you know, that the flight attendant or the flight agent that you're talking to, or the person on the other line with the bill, you know that the outcome is not going to be any different. But you want to know that they care enough to try to do something.
Like, wow. Like, even for them to be like, yeah, that would be really frustrating. And you, whatever the issue is that you're calling a customer service, you know, like, so, you know, even women in business, you know, you're going to have customers, and like, ultimately, what does that person leave feeling after their interaction and conversation with you?
That's great. That is great. So would you go through your strategies, those 3 strategies that you mentioned to us one more time before we end this call? So we're going to start wrapping it up, and I'm going to share this again because I'm going to make everyone aware of the offer that we have right now for our a discount towards the registration for the event. So, but as I pull this up, Vicki, would you go ahead and share your 3 strategies again?
That they would know that you are for them. That oh gosh, I should have. That you would seek to understand, to listen. The person that understands the person will win the person, and then not being right, or being able to put your perspective to the side. And
these are 3 strategies for how you're able to influence your friends and your family, whether you are a woman in ministry, whether you work for someone else, whether you're employed in your household, whether you have little kids or teenagers, whether you're married or single. These are all things that work. These are all strategies that work to help you have influence. So thank you so much, Vicki. I am so excited. We are in countdown mode. We are less than 3 weeks away from this event. It is.
I'm so excited.
Yes, and I'm excited to have you as a speaker. And if you want to, if you come to the event. Right now, we are offering a special if you register. The regular price of the adult registration is $59, and that price is actually going to increase on the 16th. In terms of our special, just for that we're having from now until January the 13th, we're doing a $10 off the regular price of an adult registration when you use the coupon code 2017 strong during the checkout. And again, this offer is going to end after the last midnight of the last interview that we are doing as part of our Meet the Speaker series. This is giving you an opportunity to meet the mentors that we'll have at the event. And hopefully after watching these videos, you will want to connect with them. You will make sure you go up to them, say hi, ask them any questions that you have. Vicki will be there, and she will be speaking during the breakout session specifically for the women who are in ministry. You can register today at strongerthanyouthinkevent.com. And before we go, I almost forgot again, we are going to do a giveaway. So let me see. I'm going to use the comment section like I did yesterday. So we're going to do, okay. So, okay. So we do have a question right now. So Jeanette, would you like to ask your question by video, or did you want to type your question in? Because I want to make sure you have time to answer, to ask your question. So you can type it in, or you can unmute yourself and you can ask Vicki your question. So hopefully you're still there. I just saw you leave a comment in the chat box. So you can go ahead and leave a comment for Vicki. Let me see. Are you still there? Let me see. I see you still here. Okay. So Jeanette, hopefully you can still hear me. Whenever you're ready, you can either type in your question, or you can actually unmute yourself and ask your question to Vicki. But in the meantime, we're going to choose a winner for. So Vicki, what are we giving away today?
A free counseling session. So whether you need it or you know of a friend that needs it, yeah, one counseling session to check us out at Biblical Counseling of Arizona.
Okay, Biblical Counseling of Arizona. Vicki is one of their biblical counselors. So the way we're going to choose the winner is, I know it is an awesome giveaway, Yubeka. So the way we're going to choose the winner is we're going to do it differently than the way we did it last night. So I would like for you to leave a comment telling me your definition of influence. So in the comment section, leave your definition of influence, and that's how we're going to choose the winner for this amazing giveaway of a free counseling session. And while you all, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. I'm going to give you my, I'm going to give you an opportunity. I'm going to share my screen one more time while you type in your question. Your definition of influence. Okay. So again, whether you're just now joining us or you're going to see this a little bit later, if you register between now and January the 13th at strongerthanyouthinkevent.com for our event, you will receive $10 off the regular adult registration when you use the coupon code 2017STRONG. And this offer is going to expire on the very last day of these interviews at midnight. So hopefully you will jump on that offer. So Yubeka's definition is, influence is the ability to impact the lives of others negatively or positively. Yes, yes, yes. Very true. So ding, 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 ding. You are the winner, Yubeka. And we have your email address. So what I'll do is I will connect you and get you by email, and then you all can get that set up for the counseling session. So, all right. So thank you so much, Vicki. Tomorrow night, I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to actually talk to Yubeka, our next speaker in this series, because she is going to be talking about how to be authentically you. How to be authentically you, and how do you model that for your daughters, your granddaughters, your nieces, any young woman in your life. How do you model authenticity for them? Because she's going to be our speaker, specifically hosting a workshop for the teen girls ages 12 to 18. So tomorrow's session, you can watch that with a girl. It would be great if you grabbed a daughter or granddaughter or a young teenager, or if you just want to get, take some notes yourself of things that you can do to help the young women in your life, that will be just as great. So until, so actually Jeanette is giving you a an endorsement, Vicki. She says she
Oh.
believes that you're great at communicating with your clients. So that's really great. Thank you so much, Jeanette, for leaving that. So again, I know that we have amazing mentors. I have no doubt that you all are going to have an amazing time at this event on the 21st of January. It will be life-changing. So until we talk to you tomorrow night, you all have a great night, and hopefully I'll see you on the call tomorrow. All right, bye-bye. Thanks, Vicki.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.